All right, let's go. So today we're going to do 7.5. This is the last of the videos for this week. Woo woo. And it goes with interpreting change in exponential models, changing units. This is kind of like physics with that, what's it called? Dimensional analysis. It's just where we change the time and stuff. Okay, and if you need to, you can look back at 7.3 and 7.4 notes for the formulas. But I think you'll probably be able to just whip this out without a lot of trouble. The last section, 7.4 was a lot of trouble, but this one's not that bad. Okay, so if we look at this first problem, and these are from your con videos, I'm just redoing them myself. It says the amount of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere increases rapidly as we continue to rely on fossil fuels. The relationship between the elapsed time t in decades. That's important. So this letter T means decade. Okay. Since CO2 levels were first measured and the total amount of CO2 in the atmosphere, A sub decade T in parts per million is modeled by the following function. Complete the following sentence about the yearly rate of change. Yearly in the atmosphere. Round your answer to 2 decimal places. Okay, so this T up here represents decades, and I want to change it to years. So we ask ourselves, how many years are in a decade? Decade means 10. So there's 10 years in a decade. So we have to do something to this letter T to show that I want yearly. And I'm going to do something that involves a 10. Let's go up here to this little T chart I gave you. It says if they give you this and then they ask for this, then do this. So let's see. If they give you decades and they want yearly, then we do something with a 10. And what we do is we divide by 10. Okay, if they give you yearly and they ask for monthly, how many months are in a year? 12. So you divide by 12. If they give you weekly and ask for daily, there's 7 days in a week, so we divide by 7. Keep going. If they give you hourly and they want minutes, then how many minutes are in an hour? You divide by 60. Okay, but these are in a different color because they're a little bit different. If they give you yearly and they want decades, that means you're getting bigger. So you multiply by 10. What? If they give you seconds and they want minutes, that means we're getting bigger. So you multiply by, how many seconds are in a minute? 60. You multiply by 60. Okay, so that means for this problem, they give us decades and they want years. So that means we have to go from decades to years. So we divide by 10. So our new equation is going to be 315 times 1.06 to the T divided by 10. And if you remember from 7.4, we talked about how to make a fraction with a letter on top into 1 over that number times the letter. So that's what I'm going to do here. I'm going to pretend 10 is this number, and I'm going to separate it into 1 over 10. So this is going to change to 315 times 1.06 to the 1 over 10 times t. Okay, so let's remember what the question was asking for. It's asking for the factor every year. Well, if it asks for the factor every decade, then this 1.06 would be the answer. But it asks for the factor every year, yearly. So our factor is no longer 1.06. It's going to be 1.06 raised to the 1 over 10. Because this t means decades, but this 1 over 10th means years. So what we're going to do is we're going to slap this in our calculator on con. And remember, to do that, we're going to type 1.06, then that x to the y button, then open parentheses, 1 divide 10, close parentheses, equals. And that should give me like 1.0058. But remember, it said 2 decimal places. So that means I want 2 numbers after the decimal. So since this 5 is bigger than 4, that makes this 1 poop. That makes this 0 go up to a 1. So 1.01. Hello? Okay, good. So that's what you type in your little box. Okay, let's do another one. This says, ecologist studies the time and chain tiger population. T is in years. So this T represents years. But let's look at what the question is asking for. It says every month. So somehow we have to change years to months. So how many months are in a year? 12. But since we're getting smaller from a year to a month, we're going to divide. Let's check. On the front of our notes, we wrote, if they give you year and they want month, you divide by 12. So I'm going to keep this 612. I'm going to keep this 2/3. But I'm going to change that T to divide by 12. And now this represents monthly. Woohoo. But we have to figure out the factor. So the factor is not 2/3 because 2/3 is the factor for yearly. So if it asks for the factor yearly, you type in 2/3. But for us, our factor is 2/3 and that divide by 12. Well, let's see what the heck. Remember on the last problem, this is like 612 times 2/3, and you can separate that divide by 12 into 1 over 12 times t. And then now I'm going to put this 2/3 to the 1/12 in our calculator, and then round to 2 decimal places, and you got it. And let's just remember how to put this in the calculator. Since 2/3 is a fraction, you're probably going to have to press parentheses, parentheses, 2 divide 3, then the x to the y button. So parentheses 2 divide 3, parentheses, x to the y button, and then another parentheses 1 divide 12, another parentheses equals. So that's what you have to put in the calculator. Okay, gracias, bye.